U.S. District Court Judge Susan Bolton seems to have the fate of Arizona within her judicial grasp. If she doesn't have the fate of Arizona within her grasp, she has, at the very least, the honor and the good names of many Arizonans within her court. For Will Shakespeare said, "Who steals my purse steals trash, but he that filches from me my good name makes me poor indeed." So far, the case of Arizona's new SB 1070 law has been tried in the public arena by three of the most formidable opponents of this law: the President of the United States, the Attorney General, and the Director of Homeland Security, all sworn to protect the rights of the people of the United States. The President wasn't shy when he said he had not read the bill, but he did say that he feared that this bill was unwise and that it would lead to racial profiling. Both Holder and Napolitano also admitted before Congress that they had not read the bill either, but nevertheless condemned it with unabashed contempt. Their lawyers, too, went before Judge Bolton with the same disregard for the law. How's that, you say? Well, look at what Attorney General Holder said. If we fail in getting the Arizona law put aside, we are prepared to challenge the law on the grounds of racial profiling. Remember, this is an administration that has ignored U.S. District Judge Martin Feldman, who granted a preliminary injunction halting the moratorium on offshore drilling. Judge Feldman immediately prohibited the United States from enforcing the ban, yet Interior Secretary Kenneth Salazar said in a statement that he will issue a new moratorium on deepwater offshore drilling once again. This clearly represents a distinct overreach of executive power. Let us look at the fact that the administration is quick to condemn the Arizona law, but has done absolutely nothing to states and city governments who flaunt federal immigration laws with sanctuary cities. What about that, Mr. Holder, Madam Napolitano, and President Obama? No comment? On Thursday, June 15th, Greta Van Susteren asked Janet Napolitano directly if she thought that SB 1070 was a racist law as implied by the left. Her answer? It'll be up to the courts to decide. Well, isn't that nice coming from the former governor of the state of Arizona? It is clear that this administration has no respect for the Constitution or for the rule of law. Yet Arizonans have put our honor and good names and our life's hard work in the hands of a single federal judge. You think we should count our blessings? Well, we could have fared worse. Imagine that single judge being Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or Justice Sonia Sotomayor, or the White House Solicitor General Elena Kagan. We'd really be in the soup. Does this process seem to be less than democratic? Does this seem fair? Does it seem fair that the Attorney General, Director of Homeland Security, and the President have convicted a whole state in the arena of public opinion, a sovereign state of these United States, before having heard the case for SB 1070 in the courts? Is this the kind of due process Americans have to look forward to? The type of due process that the ACLU continues to tell us that they ensure by their vigilance that we will not fall prey to. But the ACLU is suing us as well. Are we to be convicted of things we are not guilty of by those who are in power? Is this the selective prosecution of individuals and states we have to look forward to? Is this an example of the foreboding power we all thought only existed in banana republics and third world dictatorships? How was it that the Allies in World War II, with General Dwight David Eisenhower in the lead, were able to secure hundreds of miles of borders when it liberated Europe from fascism? And our administration says today it cannot secure our southwest borders. Department of Justice Attorney J. Christian Adams has now officially resigned over the Justice Department's refusal to allow the prosecution of armed Black Panthers who openly intimidated voters during the elections of 2008. You saw the videos. What do you think, America? In a letter to the Washington Times, Adams called the case the simplest and most obvious violation of federal law he had ever seen in his entire career at the Justice Department, and condemned Obama's handling of the case as corrupt and indefensible. Is this the pattern of absolute power that the American people have to look forward to, as they are blanketed with a tapestry of pre-glasnost tactics, fashioned only by politburos of the former Soviet Union? What are the simple folk of Camelot supposed to think of this government? Would you call it democratic? Would you call it socialist? Would you call it repressive? Would you call it Marxist? What would you call it? Well, it sure ain't democracy, and it sure ain't the grand old United States we've come to love. Rather, it is the forward edge of a great big dark cloud hovering over us, inhibited by those who wish to take our God-given liberties away from us. Well, we really don't know why those who seek power, but we do know that we cannot understand why they do, because history almost always deposes of them and their aphrodisiac in short order. It may take a couple of years. Citizens will suffer. Even whole groups of people may suffer the injustices yet to come, but ultimately the American people will triumph. When and where will we triumph? At the ballot box in November. And that is why SB 1070 must prevail, because we cannot afford to have millions of illegal immigrants as millions of illegal voters in 2012. Remember that this is Obama's real goal, a renewal of his failed presidency. The tenor of the recent SB 1070 hearing suggests that Judge Bolton may enjoin enforcement of some provisions of the law, but not all the provisions, and that she is giving deference to an Arizona law that is consciously crafted to simply provide for the enforcement of existing federal law. Whatever the rulings of Judge Bolton in district court, it is likely that the case will wind its way up to the federal appellate levels and then on to the Supreme Court. Judge Bolton, we wish you well and pray that your intellect, your heart, and most importantly your knowledge of the law will win the day in deciding for the welfare of the good people of Arizona. Take heart, Arizonans. Take heart, America, and God save the United States. For the battle for liberty has only just begun.